Story of the night. John Calipari to Arkansas. So, Keyshawn, you said there was no way Kentucky would part ways with Coach Cal, so I assume you were shocked by this breaking news.
Well, they didn't part ways with him. He parted ways with them. They didn't part ways with him.
They let him go.
Yeah,
they did
decided,
not try to keep him.
Well, no, $33 million or whatever, that number's, am I right, 33? $33 million they want to hook for. If you fire him, you write a check no matter what horse racing and bourbon and all that can pay for it. It does not matter. It's still $33 million. In the end, he met with the athletic director. He met with some people in the administrative offices, the presidents, things of that nature. And they said, okay, let's just see how it goes moving forward. And Calipari said, okay, fine. But those conversations wasn't as easy as they are with me and you right now. Those conversations was tense. They were heated.
You better
And he
believe
walked
it.
out of there and he said, okay, I got something for y'all. And he sat and he watched all the things fall in the landscape. When Eric Musselman left and came to USC, the domino effect from our guy leaving and going to SMU opened up an opportunity. So it was just a domino effect that fell. And you say Arkansas, SEC, not the same as Kentucky, because Kentucky, national championships, and it's the blue blood, and it's the whole deal. Arkansas is not a bad basketball program. Having won a national championship under Nolan Richardson back in the 90s.
They did.
We know that, right? They've got NBA players.
Championship games.
They've been to back-to-back championship games. They've been to Sweet 16s. They've been to all that. And on top of that, I would argue with anybody that says, from a financial standpoint, that Arkansas is less than Kentucky, because that's not true. Arkansas pockets run deep. You got Walmart money. You got billionaires that went to the school, Jerry Jones, for instance. They're going to back the program. Yeah. And he knew that. When I got a couple years left on my deal in a lot of tension, as you know, with the Kentucky administration, I can start fresh. Yeah. I can go to Arkansas now, and I can bring my same recruits that I've been recruiting for the longest, and everybody will be happy there. They won't, be nitpicking that I've been bounced out of the first round and hadn't gotten out of the first round since 2019. And I'm losing to St.
Peter's.
St. Peter's, and then Oakland, not in Northern California, but somewhere else. I'm losing to these. I'm losing to these type of teams. I won't have to keep hearing that throughout the course of the season. I start fresh. I know I'm going to get the support. NIL money is going to be crazy. So it's a perfect situation for him. It's a perfect situation for him. I'm excited to see where it goes, to be honest with you.
I was shocked when I saw the news. I was shocked overnight, but the more you think about it, you're not breaking up with me, I'm breaking up with you. I'm breaking up with you first.
Exactly.
I didn't do it. This is definitely that kind of vibe. And you saw when they had that press conference with the athletic director after they announced he's coming back, it was so tense, right? They just looked like two people who didn't like each other.
Miserable.
And I think it's carryover with the boosters, right? He was getting so much criticism. Look, I still think the boosters of Kentucky would have put out the wallet for getting good players. I don't think they would take that out on not assembling a good team. But I think having to hear it all the time from everyone, you go to Arkansas, that team has not won a title in 30 years, right? They haven't been to a Final Four since the mid-90s. This is a team where it is going to be a grateful fan base if you get to the second round in your first year, or then maybe you get past that. So I think that you have a fan base you're starting fresh with. You have boosters you're starting fresh with. You mentioned the Walmart money, the Jerry Jones money. John Tyson of Tyson Foods.
Big.
Close friend of Cal's,
more
who
billions.
Sure has been in his ear being like, you don't need them. Why do you want to go where you're not wanted? Come to us. We want you, and I'm going to pay for everything, right? So I think you have that. It's just too appealing. I think for a lot of us, the mindset of Coach Cal at Kentucky, the program and the coach are so married. You just see the headline, and you're like, wait, what? What is happening? But the more you think about it, the more it makes sense. And frankly, Kentucky can get a fresh start as well. And I think there are people in that family that are looking forward to that.
Which is why I conclude win, win. Win for Arkansas, win for Kentucky. I told you the morning after Oakland happened to Kentucky, and that was a 14 seed beating a 3 seed. I told you Big Blue Nation will want him gone because it's been too long. They had not been to a Final Four, have not been to a Final Four at Kentucky for 9 years. Keyshawn, that was 4 straight years. In which they've won 1 NCAA tournament game. It's also 4 straight years in which they won a grand total of 1 SEC tournament games, just 1 in 4 years. So they had 3 first-round exits in the SEC tournament. It's just wrong, wrong, wrong. And you guys were all over me. You said there's no way. It's Coach Cal.
He didn't get fired, though, Skip.
Okay, but they wanted him out, and they wanted to ease him out because they wanted not to have to eat $33 million. So you can't tell me that the Kentucky powers that be weren't also behind the scenes trying to work him to Arkansas, trying to make it facilitate the move to Arkansas, to make sure that, hey, you guys want him, because they needed him out and they did not want to have to pay him $33 million to exit. But again, it's been 9 years since Kentucky even went to a Final Four. And over his time, look, I love Cal. I've been around him a lot. You know him. You've been around him.
He's tremendous.
Okay, he's just tremendous. But he's done a brilliant job of ingratiating himself with all the right people in the media because he's fun to be around. And I'm the first to admit, I enjoy his company.
Yep.
Who doesn't? I enjoy his off-the-record company where you
absolutely.
can. It's all. He's smart that way, but in a good. He's like a lovable scoundrel, if you will, or whatever. Not that he's a scoundrel, but there are a lot of people who don't know him who think he's a scoundrel. So my point is that he's been overprotected by the media over the years, because I can make the case he has done less with more than maybe any coach in history, because they've had 35 first-round picks in his tenure there. 35 first-round picks?
Yes.
And you gave him 1 championship in 2012, so it's been 12 years since that championship.
The landscape of college basketball has changed over time.
No doubt.
It's not the same. You can't go in there with a bunch of freshmen and think that you're just going to win a national championship. You got 5- and 6-year COVID babies that's still playing basketball.
Yeah.
These dudes is grown now, you know, and so it's just it's a totally different mindset. That's why he has to shift his thought process at Arkansas, where you have to have a mix of young and old to be able to get to where he's trying to get to.
Well, you want to use the portal more than you want to use the high school kids,
that's considered
right?
old.
Yeah. No,
when you're in
be.
the portal, most likely you're old.
Well, that's where the Tyson money and the Walmart money, and maybe Jerry keeps making basketball analogies. We're hanging around the rim. Maybe he's more into basketball.
And look, by the way, the money to pay staff, right? Because that's when you talk to former players in Kentucky, and I talk to a lot of them. Boogie Cousins, Anthony Davis. I've had conversations with all these guys in the last couple weeks, and they talk about that his staff at Kentucky is not what it used to be, and that some of the guys who really, as you know, would pull the player aside. Coach Cal's saying all this, but here, let you and me talk. You know, those kind of relationships, those are key to making any team work, football or basketball. And that staff wasn't there in the same way over this last year or so as it had been in the past on that championship team, for example, when you talk to Anthony Davis. So they're going to be able to pay a staff for him that is going to have just the best of the best in the assistant coaches as well.
Right.
So it translates all the way through. I think Cal did look at the transfer portal a little more a few years ago. He almost tried to go that route, didn't quite go there, went back to what he knew, that sort of thing. But I just think when you have this fresh start, he is going to be energized in a way he hasn't before. In that press conference where he did sit up there with the AD and say, we're all going to be together another year, they likened it to a marriage. And there was a conversation back and forth with a reporter being like, well, you know, do you guys fight? And, don't you fight with your wife, sir? And I mean, there was a little bit of that back and forth.
Good point.
You don't want to be in a marriage where you feel like the person is only there because they can't afford to go anywhere else.
Okay.
Right?
I mean,
that's not the way you want to be married to someone, because you feel that they can't afford to go move out and get their own apartment. Kentucky could not afford to let him go, right? $33 million.
Well, I mean, they could if they wanted to.
But the feeling was that they had to. Right?
That 33, when people fire coaches, as you know, that 33 turns into 60.
Sure.
And more, because I got to hire new people and new staff. And so you got to look at all of those sort of things. Where does it set the basketball, not the athletic program back, but the basketball program from an economic standpoint? Now that you got to pay him whatever buyout it is, and then you got to go hire an entirely new staff, and you're not going to bring in...
You got to pay the players.
You're not going to pay the player, but you're not just going to bring in anybody at Kentucky. You're going to go reach for the top of the top to replace a coach that you just fired. Now, that's going to be more money. I mean, what's it going to take? You know, let's assume that they go after a Billy Donovan, for instance, who knows the SEC, who won championships at Florida. What's that going to cost you? That's going to cost you a lot. Now you got that $33 million back. You can pass that over to somebody and put a little more
Get
on
a
top.
nice apartment.
And,
Just saying, $33 million.
absolutely. And then if they stay in the SEC conference, and because the SEC conference, they do it a lot in football. They just move around.
Mm-hmm.
They go from one school to the next, and the next school to the next. Think about Oates at Alabama.
I like him a lot.
What if he leaves Alabama to go to Kentucky? Alabama, nice Final Four appearance, but it ain't no damn Kentucky. So you got to pay that, even though he just signed a new deal that has about a $20 million buyout. That ain't nothing. That's peanuts if you really want him. So you got to think about all those things when you're replacing a coach.
All right. And yet, Coach Cal had already recruited one of the top classes to come in for next year.
Yeah, did they sign yet, though? Yeah, I was trying to see that.
To your, you have to think when you say how many NBA prospects has he had. That's not the indicator of college success anymore if they're leaving after a year. So it's just not the marker it used to be, Key, to your point. And the fact that you can have this great class coming in, if they don't stay, if no one ever stays, you can almost have too good a class. You don't have that chemistry. You're teaching guys who have never been away from home before how to live by themselves. I mean, there's so much about teaching a freshman, if you're a coach, on how to be in that environment, how to function on a team, how to play more games than they've played before. All of these different things, the pressure of the NCAA tournament, where a guy who's never been there before and then never will be again because he's out the door in 5 minutes, it's not necessarily.
I understand, but once upon a time, I watched this kid named Carmelo Anthony just put Syracuse on his back and carry him all the way past Kansas to a championship as a pure, true, raw freshman because he was just better than anybody else in college basketball that year. And this way, the way it's been happening here, those 35 first-round picks, except for Anthony Davis, have not been dominant NBA players. They have not turned into dominant NBA players. So...
Really?
Well... Name another one who was just...
Anthony Davis is pretty dominant.
Well, that's what I'm saying, besides him.
I'm trying to think. I got you
John
threw
Wall
that
had
one
some
at me.
dominant years. I mean, I think
But nobody's just torn up the NBA.
Yeah, but there's a reason Carmelo
I know, that's what I'm
Anthony
saying.
is Carmelo
That's
Anthony.
what happened. That's exactly what happened.
I think Boogie was on his way.
I know, but they were all good to pretty good to okay, like that. So this year, I turn on the Oakland game because I want to see Rob Dillingham and I want to see Reed Shepherd because they're going to go in the top 10 in this coming draft. Top 10. And I'm watching and I'm thinking, I can't see them. I don't, where are they? And Oakland's got a guy who looks like he's 32 years old and he's draining threes all over the floor. And I'm saying, this guy's unbelievable. But I don't think he can play in the NBA. And he doesn't think he can play in the NBA. And Oakland won easily. And I'm thinking, what happened to Rob Dillingham, Reed Shepherd? I don't know. I don't know. They weren't ready for this stage.
I just don't think we're in a place anymore where you can compare, is someone going to be an NBA success or have they been an NBA success to how did they do in their 1 year in college?
And on top of that, though, as I said to you, when they lost to Oakland, Skip, my mind as a player, I'm trying to go help my mother. I'm not trying to help you win no damn national championship. I'm trying to go help my mom get a house.
I get it.
So my focus is the faster I can get in and get out of here, the better me and my family are going to be. And that's where young guys now and the young players are saying to themselves, I'm one and done, man. As I told you before, I know how to get I know how to get to the weight room, cafeteria, and sit on the steps by the bookstore. That's all I know. I don't know anything else because I'm only here for 6 months. I'm here for 6 months, I'm gone. That's the thought process.
Do you know your way to class?
I'm not worried about that. I'm here for 6 months. I'm trying to go get a bag. I'm not trying to help you win a national title.
No.
That's.
I mean, if it happens, that's fine.
If we backdoor into it and we roll into it, then great. But my goal